Okay, then we'll go ahead and get started. So, actually, I guess I should share my screen, huh? Not that there's a whole lot going to be going on, but give you something to look at while we talk. So we're going to be going over some of the changes to some old units and the introduction of the new units, and then I'll go a little bit over the pike, since I really enjoy it and love it. So we'll start with some of the changes to the old units specifically, and I'll go ahead and pull up my barracks and go to. I'll just go to the unit tree. There we go. We'll start off with the Iron Cap Bow Riders.
The frontier.
So for those that don't know, they got upgraded. They got a new ability, which is Hustle, which is basically like Sprint. It's 50 seconds. It's a real short reuse. I think it's 10. So basically, you can double your speed half the time, or I guess not double, but 50% more. And then it gets a little burst of kind of like a mini arrow rain with combo shots. So those are the two new abilities. I believe they had Swift before because it was a pretty quick unit. They'd get a new unit trait that reduces the enemy's piercing defense for 5 seconds when it hits, stacks up to 5 times, and it's got a small damage over time that it does, and then it can inflict daze. It says it reads that it does inflict daze. It doesn't always inflict daze, so it's a chance. I haven't really figured out what that percentage is. They do now have a wedge formation, which is something I don't believe they had before. Wedge is good just because it keeps them a little bit more tightly packed, which allows them to maneuver around obstacles easier. So some things that are kind of cool about this unit, which I think a lot of people, first of all, this is not a TW unit, Territory War, but it is fun to play in field battles, and it's not even terribly bad to bring into Territory War if you're doing open field battles, like catching people, keeping them from getting into objectives. And the big reason, in my opinion, on that is because they got some epic doctrines. You'll notice I have the accuracy, which is cool. That helps you apply damage, and the other effects like stacking the piercing debuff and all that stuff on there. But the one that I think is really cool is the reduces enemy movement speed by 10% for 3 seconds. So with a good rate of fire, especially with that mini arrow rain that they have, you're pretty much guaranteeing another enemy cavalry unit to have a 10% slow on it. So they'll pretty much never catch you. Kashyyyks are pretty quick, and Iron Cap Scouts are pretty quick. I would assume, I don't use them, the prefecture heavy cavalry would also be able to run you down. But what this really does is it's a good, cheap unit that you can bring to field battles, open world stuff that can support your team. Because generally they evolve into a cavalry clash, and slowing the enemy cavalry by 10% is really nice to be able to do, because it allows your teammates to get away or line up their charge, and allows them they're less likely to get away. The enemy is. Any questions over the Iron Cap Bow Riders? Okay, I just got asked in typing, are they good for sallying out on a siege? And yes, they are. Obviously, you're going to use them a little bit differently. You're not going to charge straight into the enemy. You're going to flank and run around and support your the other people that are running out. If I was the only one, I probably wouldn't run them out. But if you're going with 3 or 4 other cavalry, I think that would be good to bring. And for that matter, if you brought 3 or 4 of them out and you kind of ran together, I think it would be pretty effective as well. Good question, though. Any other questions on the Iron Cap Bow Riders? Okay. Next, we'll go to the Iron Cap Sword Boys. As soon as I find them, they're there. The Iron Cap Swordsman. So, let me be showing off that I'm a scrub. So they have a, excuse me, they have a new ability. It's called Rally to Me. The Rally to Me is like a mini sprint, but they come to you. They don't get any extra damage or anything else, but it's really nice to make them speed up and catch up to you. They don't have any new unit traits. They were always an assault troop, which just means that they're good for charging, and then the shock troops is their best to hit and run kind of thing. So generally speaking, best formation is column formation. The top line is what you want to go, just because that increases. It's all the charge damage stuff. And then as far as doctrines, uh, they're already fast, especially since their honor upgrades are pretty cheap. That also helps out their charge. But if you've got some extra stuff on them, for almost every short sword and shield unit, I recommend the two blue doctrines, just because 10% less range damage is pretty significant, and 140 block is pretty heavy too. That usually soaks up an extra, even a hero swing. So when you see the hero swing, and I'm sure you've all done it in PvE or whatever, and the unit blocks you, it's because they have a high enough block. So you have to break through that. And then other than that, you just, based off what you got. I had a bunch of the epic sword doctrines, so I put one on there. And I wanted to show the honor upgrades on them, just because I think for this particular unit, they're pretty good. The charge cooldown right here is you can lower it by 6 seconds for 3 for each level. And then the other one just increases their damage. They're really cheap for this low-level unit, and it really impacts them quite a bit. I think that their charge reuse is like almost every 20 seconds or so. If somebody knows for sure, by all means, jump in and correct me. But so those are the two lower-level units that got changed. I'll go ahead and do my favorite ones, which is also on this tree, and that would be the Palace Guards.
Serve the Emperor.
So the Palace Guards, I don't think they got any new unit traits. I think they were always staunch defenders, heavy armor, and fire resistant. But they did get a new ability, which is Guard the Throne. And you can take your time and read over it, but basically I call it the squad or brace or whatever, and you use it just like a brace for, say, like stalwarts or a pike unit. Basically, anything from the front, it's going to take a lot less damage. The other cool thing is when you're in the guard the throne stance, or the squat, as I call it, brace, whatever you want to call it, when you come out of it, it'll give you another option to hit the 2 again to trigger the coming out of guard the throne. And it's called, I believe it's called for power or something like that. Basically, it gives them, it's like a prefecture drill, or it's just a hyper speed, not really so much speed, but they get a little bit more speed, they get more aggressive, and they do more damage.
It's like the Conditori shield bash skill.
It's very similar to that. I don't think it's quite as good, because I don't think they swing it around as much or for as long.
No, it only lasts for like 2 seconds.
Yeah, but it does a lot more damage, in my opinion. That it just destroys heroes. The other thing is, I went top line, so I didn't get. I think there's a shield wall formation with them if you go bottom, which is fine. I'll go over the veteran C's here in a little bit. I almost always use the block formation, and I'm actually going to show you. Hopefully, they have it up here in the icon. If not, I can go into a training. It's similar to that. It's a little bit different formation than that, but that spread out is good because when they're squatting down, you can't really get through them. Like a lot of units, like for example, the halberds and things, they're so spread out when they're in their block formation. You can slide in them. You're still going to take damage from them, but they don't stop units from pushing through. Well, when these guys are in their formation, they do. So, and I'll just go ahead and actually pull mine up so I can show you the doctrines that I use. These guys are versatile enough, in my opinion, that there's a lot of doctrines that are viable with them. I'm going to go over the veterancy first, then I'll come back to doctrine. So I go top line, and it's all for where is the double tap? It's up here somewhere. Maybe there it is. So this one right here is almost every unit that I go through. I look for this right here, where you can attack an extra enemy with per attack. It's essentially kind of doubling the damage. Doesn't quite mathematically work out to that, but that's effectively the same. So there's a lot of good stuff on the top. I can go through each one you want. That's, to me, the big selling point is the double tap, as I call it. The bottom line is very good. I think there is. I don't use it. I used it for a while, but there used to be. There it is. I can't remember how the shield formation is. Is there anybody that does go bottom line that's in here right now?
It's the
Paladins. Shield formation, same thing, pretty much.
Yeah, there you go. So, and then I don't use it. I don't think it's probably very good, but if there's somebody else, I'll go through what I do like about the bottom line, and that is that shield formation, because it's obviously a better shield than without. And then, of course, you get the more hit points, and this node is not most nodes are about 3%. This is 4.5 for a total of 9, which is pretty significant. So you're putting out a little bit over 900 more hit points, which is not insignificant. The shield formation I mentioned, and then just straight 6% damage reduction is pretty baller. And then this last one's really nice. So increases all defenses by 20%. So really with that 6% here and here, you're really taking 26% damage less. Plus you're getting an extra 9% hit points. So tankability is going way through the roof, probably close to effectively 30 to 40% more tanky if you go bottom line. This one here, you can see it actually lowers their defenses, the top line. Any questions over the vet stuff? And more importantly, if there's somebody that goes to the bottom line who likes it, I'd love to hear from you as well.
I have a question. It's not necessarily for palace guards in general, but more of like the doctrines. So like on the side where you have like that what's it, 1, 2, 3, hexagon or pentagon type
Oh, this?
type thing, yeah.
Yeah.
When it goes out past like I've never seen an attack, for example, attack 120 or 117, as yours says. I've never seen it go past 120. Is that max attack, and no matter what doctrines you put on there, it won't go. You won't get more stronger than that?
No. This means nothing. It's just a graphical thing for people that came from different games that had stuff like this. And
Okay.
this is something they did to appease, because people complained about not understanding the damage calculations. This is back in, and maybe Cobra will remember, I think it was in season 2. There was a big push in when Liege Chat first came out for a little bit more clarity. And I think that's when this came out. Does that sound right, Cobra?
Somewhere around then. I haven't seen over 120 either.
Yeah. So this essentially means nothing. It's just a graphical representation of how the unit is designed to be played according to the devs. So if they've got more tank, they're designed to take a better hit and things like that. So I wouldn't put too much. I barely acknowledge that this exists.
Okay, my question was that, like, if my unit already has an attack of 120, should I bother putting a slashing or a piercing doctrine on it if it's not going to advance that? And you answered that you should go ahead and do that because it essentially means nothing.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another fun note: my friend went bottom line pallies. They can survive a hussar charge in shield wall formation, and beat the hussars in melee.
Okay.
Top line, even top line, the number 2 button will survive any charge. Also, they take no damage.
Yeah. Just so you said your buddy, you did mention paladins. I just want to make sure you were talking about paladins.
Oh, sorry. I meant elite palace guards.
Okay. Good clarification. And yes, absolutely right. I've taken with the doctrines and this was last season when Short Sword could do its little share. Everybody gets some iron sights. I took 3 charges and I didn't lose any of the palace guards. Now, granted, that's in that squat formation I mentioned, or brace, or whatever you want to call it. And an extra 10% from, I think, is what the rune gave you for shared iron sights. And of course, I don't know how, if they were maxed, but one was the SARS, one was monastics, and the other third one was right there with it. So I'm not really sure. It could have been a lesser calf. But I didn't lose any. They were all pretty much red. But the important thing is, and the reason why I like Palace Guards, it's one of my favorite units now, is because of their ability to change their role. They can immediately just squat down and hold the line, or they can charge. And when they come out of that hold the line that I had mentioned before, they do pretty significant damage.
Yeah, it's all blunt damage they do once they charge out of that line. Once they charge out of that brace, they shield bash.
Yep. All right, I don't remember if I went over doctrines on this. I had mentioned that the Palace Guards are pretty versatile with their doctrine. I currently have the purple charge damage. I don't notice that much difference on it, so I don't know that I would put that as a high priority on there. As mentioned before, I do recommend the old school rare doctrines, especially if you don't have anything better with the 140 block and 10% range, just because they're so significant in my opinion. There's a couple doctrines that help them out. The one that does the blunt damage and slashing damage, I think that would be good. I think any of the breakthrough line or things like that would also be good. I'm not too pleased so far with the mobility doctrine because that's the weakness of the palace guards, in my opinion, is that they're slow. And when you take slow as fuck and you add 15% of it, you're still slow as hell. So I haven't noticed a whole lot of change with that mobility doctrine. I'm still running tests on it, but it doesn't look like I would highly recommend it. I don't use the charge enough to get the charge increase, the 20%, but that's my next one I'm going to test around with once I have officially determined that the mobility doctrine is a failure, or not high priority anyway. Has anybody else got doctrines that they really like for it, they want to add to?
Iron sights.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, if I had a, yes, very good call. Iron sights would be awesome for it. Any other doctrines or anything it's got, or any other kind of questions about the palace guards?
Here's a quick of what I got on mine if anybody wants to look. It's close to what he has, but there's just a couple differences.
The damage one is pretty good. Yeah, that damage one you got on, I have that on mine too. The blunt and slashing damage.
Yeah.
You guys are making me feel like I'm spoiled with my doctrines. I got all purples.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, tell us what you like. What do you got on yours?
So I did go with the breakthrough doctrine on them, even though I have all purples. Then I would recommend this skin for the proper win. You guys know what I mean?
Of course, dude.
Skins equals wins. Yep, skins equals wins.
So, Cobra, you had mentioned you got a bunch of purples. Is there one that you think, hey, this one really changed it? I mean, obviously, Ironsides is probably the strongest one I think you could put on any short sword and shield. But
yeah, so when you go into that brace and they get that, it's not technically invincibility, but it's damn near it. And then after that wears off, then you pop Ironsides, and then you still get reduced damage taken. And then you hit 2 again, then go into the assault formation. And if you do a charge into the brace, by the time that's all done with, you've cycled through that. The 20% charge cooldown, Doctrine Epic Sword, Doctrine 2 there. You should be ready for another charge. And the Epic Sword, Doctrine 1, slashing and blunt damage. That's all this unit does. They don't have any piercing damage. So that seemed like a good fit. And then Breakthrough Doctrine versus Assassination. I've noticed that you're going to want to do more versus units. And my pole axe will take down a hero. I don't really need this unit to do that. I need it to kill the unit so I can get to the hero.
Now, me being a longsword, I like that assassination doctrine on there because a lot of mauls. Oh yeah, my bad. Me being a short sword, I like that assassination on there because when you do make that brace a lot, one thing I notice is mauls love to come and spin, and that is the only thing that will really mess up the palace guards because they have their weakest defense is their blunt defense. But when you pull them out of that brace on number 2 after 5 seconds, I've noticed when they do rush forward, they focus a lot on heroes. So that assassination doctrine, I one hit, I can kill a lot of heroes with it due to when I take them out of that brace. And I like that assassination.
all right, good points. So I did say I'd go over the other units that got changed. One of the ones that probably very few people use is the Prefecture Pike. And they got, I can't remember what it's called. They got I guess it's not called anything. It doesn't have a new name. But when they come out of their charge,
It's the 3 battles thing, right?
Yeah, it's a unit trait. I thought it was they changed the charge ability, but if you look, it's a unit trait. So after their charge, they do a series of attacks after that. They did add swamp to them. I don't remember if they had swamp before. Either way, it helps them against cavalry, both more damage and slowing them. So I've used them a lot. I had them back when everybody used them in pre-season 2, and they were killing. They were just good hero killers. They're still as good at hero killing. They just now they do a little bit more against units essentially. There's really not too much to change in that. As far as the veterancy line, I don't think it's really going to matter that much.
If you go top, you get them 4x.
Can you say that again? Sorry, you were quiet.
If you go top, you get them 4 extra soldiers,
Yeah.
which is really nice.
Yep. And then I think that's all the units that changed as far as that. So we can go over kind of the new units if you want. And anybody got feedback on the monks? I think they're kind of niche role, and we could talk about them if you like, but I don't think there's a lot of...
I'm still doing testing on them.
What's that?
Dookie.
I'm still doing testing for them.
I'm not sure about I'm not sure if it was the monks or something else that absolutely one-shot me, but it was my first encounter with them. Was devastating to say the least. So I'm not sure if I was just like sniped. I don't know.
Initial testing, they just put like a flank unit. Like I
It
would
just-
literally use them as a shock shooter.
It was dead on though, and that's why I'm saying. I'm like, was I like shot? Was my head blown
Yeah.
off, or were the monks just like slapping me that bad? I don't know.
They were good. They were good in
yes.
silver trials if you used them right, but anything besides the
This
silver
was
trial,
just
I would not
a
take it.
siege, and I don't know if they absolutely eviscerated me. I don't know what happened.
They
So
did.
the monks are a mystery.
Yeah,
But
so
no, it's not. They'll beat the crap out of any hero. If you get caught in the middle of them, you're
Yeah.
probably dead. So you just gotta dodge.
So
them.
they're like a hero killer then.
yeah,
I'm-
I keep them in
okay.
circle formation and just box a hero in.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
other than that, I really
man.
haven't found like a
Alright.
fun
It's
full
the mosh
50
pit. I
from-
gotcha.
basically.
So
Because
from,
if you can get the circle on them and then press 2, I think it is.
Yeah.
that hero's dying. That hero's just they're getting
Gotcha,
Singapore King
gotcha.
slapped.
I did run into them, so maybe I had it coming.
So the unique thing that I find for them is that suppression of evil, where I don't really care too much about their movement in piece, because if they're in melee, they're not going to be moving a terrible amount. But I do like the fact that they lower enemy movement and their defenses. So it's pretty significant when it gets to stack to 5 times. The only way you're really going to get it to stack that 5 times is with that windmill strike, because it does a series of rapid attacks. Also heals them. My feelings on this unit is that it's essentially kind of like last season when they had the Wolf Boys, or I can't remember, Sons of Fenrir, I think they're called. They're useful, but they're very niche, and that's not something that I think you need a lot of or would want to bring a lot. But it's a nice change of pace. They're not designed to stand on their own. They're designed to flank and support. So I don't use them. I think they're too expensive for their production. In fact, between this and the Sons of Fenrir, I'd rather have the Sons of Fenrir. As far as veterancy goes, I don't think there's a big change between the two. I like the heal on the top, the extra heal. Makes them last a little bit longer. And then I don't know what I don't even know what doctrines I have on them. Probably some blunt damage or whatever. If somebody really cares about it, we can bring it up. You can hit me up afterwards, and then I'll walk you through it. The next unit would be the Gray Hairs. I only have the 3-day rental, so I won't talk terribly much about it. But one of the cool things, I think that this is going to be a decent unit in Territory War. I think we're running some tests. I'm sure DU and probably Warriors are running their own tests and stuff like that, and we'll probably come together and compare notes. But so far it's good. I think that they have a potential to be a good Territory War unit. One thing I do want to say is I think that they're just tailor-made for sieges, because of the fact that once there's a duty until death. There we go. So normally when you've lost 2/3 of your unit, you can't bring that unit out. Well, with this unit you can, and I think that's kind of a big deal in sieges. Obviously, it's not going to do you any good in Territory War, because you're probably not going to bring back the unit if you die because you're dead. You can swap them out at the a supply point, but the likelihood of that happening is not as much. By the book is pretty cool. For those that don't know, they have a nice little life tap when they drop low. They steal health on their hits, and then they have the 3 different types, and they have they excel at different things. The thing I like about most of them is that you can put them and make them as a small shield wall, but the guys in the back will turn around and defend themselves. So that's a big deal to me personally, and one of the main reasons why I like them. As far as using them, the no retreat, you're just going to be spamming that all the time. It basically gives them immunity to knockdown and stuff. So, and it works on pretty much all. I'm sure that there is a type of crowd control that it doesn't. I just don't know what it is. Maybe artillery, but I've seen belly flops come up and not knock them all down. I don't know if there's timing on different ones or what, but and I've seen walks that bounce off of them. That's Imperial Pike walks. Seen Cav get shredded, so I think they got some good stuff. I need to do more testing with them. If there's people that are pretty advanced in their testing or got some different feedback, now would be a pretty good time. I'd like to hear from it. Maybe save me some time with my testing.
Okay. Can I go?
Sure.
Okay, so yeah, I've done a little bit of testing with these guys. For those that maybe don't know, although I'm sure most people do know now, obviously you know that they're made up of an 8 and 8 and 8 with the sword, the shield, and the pike. You can go back to supply and put them in and put them out. Say if you've lost 3 of your shields, but your others are still there. If you go back, put them into supply and take them back out again, it will evenly distribute them across all 3. So if you didn't know that, you may lose all of your shields. It's something that can happen. But if you go back into supply and swap them out and bring them back out, it will give them the shields back. And obviously you've lost them from your troop, but really useful in sieges. Tally's right with Cav. Very, very interesting against Cav. Fantastic unit if you've got you 1 and then 2 them. They will wreck Liaos. They will wreck monastics. They will shred them apart. Stick them on top of 40s with a Hussar, maxed Hussar charge into them. The Hussars will do what you expect the Hussars to do with 40s there, but with that beautiful thing about defending from the back, they will flip, and then they will poke from the back end. Hussars do not survive that run, particularly with 40s there, but they'll even get stabbed without the 40s. So the fact that they flip around with the pikes to attack from behind is really, really useful with cav charges. And they do get back up from any knockdowns, a bit like the Shield Maidens that way. They are incredibly micromanaged, but the heal that they do get back from the charge, because obviously they steal health, is really useful if you then bang it straight back into your 1 formation for the defense mode, because they do inflict more damage then too. So that's my testing so far. Did use them yesterday a little bit in TW. Was interesting to see. They held up better than thought, but mine are not leeted yet, so I'd like to, when they're leeted but almost leaded, need more doctrines. It's going to be interesting to see what doctrines they get. I think they're going to be a little bit like the Shield Maiden that way too. But I think these guys are going to be incredibly viable in TW. So that's my testing so far.
I've got mine maxed out if you guys want to take a look.
Yeah, sure.
I got them maxed out. I got both the quest doctrines on there. I think I have the optimal skin on there as well.
Is that not like the best skin for any unit though?
I would agree, actually.
If you put that, my favorite for that is putting those on Kriegsrat. They look like stormtroopers.
It's such a nice skin. I wish they would have redone it.
I know.
Well, actually, I got temp on here. Normally, I put the assassination on there.
Mm-hmm.
Forgot I had the temp, but the downside to these guys is that they don't get sword doctrines, they don't get spear doctrines, and they don't get pike doctrines. So they only get generics. So I thought about maybe the resist arrow doctrine, but they get a heal, and they're already doing enough damage to one-shot any ranged unit. So giving them bonus damage dealt to ranged units isn't necessary. If the ranged unit has, like, let's say, 1,000 HP, they're going to get one shot no matter what. An extra 100 damage per unit isn't going to make a difference. But yeah, these 2 doctrines are pretty good for them. I took them on top line. I really like the top line personally. The increased damage to last stand, really clutch. And they end up getting a lot of HP, especially with the health doctrines on there. So nearly 1,400 if you've got the purple HP doctrine as well, which I'll probably put on there at some point. They're definitely for sieges. I don't know if they're going to be there for T-War. Because the amount of micromanagement that they require, it limits your ability to man artillery or to assess the flank for proper callouts or tab or something like that. And then you don't really get to utilize the fact that you can pull them out of the supply depot because of time. If you're going back to the supply point to pull them out again, then you're probably in a life and death situation. And you should probably just cycle out anyways and get somebody else in there. I kind of like palace guards more than them right now, but for sieges, I prefer to use these guys because of the leadership. And my doctrines on there are really good, and they're a lot of fun to use in siege. I love micro. That's just me personally. And 225 is a steal for a unit like this.
I agree with that.
Pretty good.
In a doorway or a stairwell, I believe they are very, very good.
Yeah.
I don't think they're T-dub worthy right now, though.
If you get them on
I
a
agree.
street, they're very beatable.
I have a question. So I know with shield mains, you can put the 100 to each defense on there. I think someone was testing that. Does anyone know if you can do that on this unit, even though technically that's a doctrine only for spearmen?
Unfortunately, you can't put spear doctrines on this.
Well,
Spear, sword, or pike.
It's only general stuff.
right,
Yeah.
but it was the same thing with the shield mains. Is it wouldn't let you put any of that specialized stuff.
Shield mains, you can put spear doctrines on there. So
Oh, okay.
Epic Spear Doctrine 3.
Is
The
CD
Epic
up
Spear
for you
Doctrine
guys?
2. What's that?
Is Conqueror's Blade up for you guys?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
What the fuck? Okay.
I had some lag in the viewing
No,
of my
I
game.
keep opening my games and it says game client not responding.
Restart your computer.
Yes,
It
sir.
happened to me yesterday or the other day.
Yeah, I hope they come out with some more doctrines because it's a fun unit to use and they might be T-War viable if they do. Anyways,
That said, I do think that part of the weakness you mentioned about not having a specific doctrine or not having a unit type to apply unit type specific doctrines is a little bit negated, because I think both of their the quest and then the one further up the line that you get by after unlocking them, I think they're both very good doctrines. 110 extra damage. That's essentially two assassin and breakthrough doctrines in one. And then you get the 600 hit points, which is the highest that you can get, which does stack with the other hit points. So you're looking at, without even breaking a sweat, having an extra 900 hit points. Is that the right doctrine set to go? I don't know, but a 600 certainly is.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So I think that kind of helps negate that, just because they have two unique doctrines that are pretty good.
Yeah, it helps. I wouldn't mind Ironsides on them or a heal.
Yeah, or both.
Or both.
Yeah. So
then they might be T-War worthy.
Sorry, did anybody else have anything that they wanted to add for the, as I call them, lovingly, the grandpas? Okay.
The,
What's that?
The other day I one-on-one them with my palace guards, and I was able to beat them because they are in such a tight formation. It's easy to surround them, basically.
Yeah, that's
it's really anecdotal though. The micro of the player could potentially outlast the hero interaction.
Yeah,
it's just
if
too
you
micro.
play 'em- if you play them right, you can beat any IPGs as well.
So, is there any other questions on or comments or feedback for the grandpas, as I call them? Anybody else got a better nickname than grandpas? Okay, it's official.
Boomers.
Boomers.
Wait, you guys talking about the graybeards?
Yeah, the
those
boomers.
guys. I like all those.
Well, you're only talking about half the unit if you call him a graybeard, because the other has no beard.
I think it went over
Can
his
I just
head.
have my Skyrim references, man? Come on.
Hey, they got a nice hairline for some boomers though.
Yeah, they got more hair than me.
Real quick, I'm just going to go over the ones that aren't unlocked yet. We're just going to touch them very gently. If there's some content creators that want to throw in some more here, they're more than welcome to. But kind of everybody's saying that they're pretty good against Cav. So you can take the time. I'm not going to actually walk through because there's different abilities they have. You can go through and look at them all. Me regurgitating, I'm sure everybody in here is literate. So anything I'm going to get is just based off of this. But from all testing that I've seen and the videos that I've seen, they're pretty good against Cav. They're pretty good at cav cannon. So I think they'll end up being a territory war unit. And the main reason why I'm bringing that up is because I think they're also going to be non-unit type, meaning you're not going to be able to put spear or sword or whatever doctrines on them, so you'll have to pick up some special doctrines or whatever. So you can start preparing for that. And then that I think it's something that would be a good candidate to dump your XP tokens into, just because they are going to be they're 5-star, they're going to be expensive, relatively. I mean, I guess they're 50% this season, so
You get a lot of unit medals from their quests.
Yep. So I think they're a good unit to save up for if you're deciding, hey, do I want to do it with the grandpas or another unit that I'm unlocking? Is the Madao going to be worth it? I think that they are. I don't know if any of the content creators, if there's any in here, if they want to give a little bit more feedback, but most of my information is, mousing over and reading here, and then what I stole off people's videos on YouTube from content creators that have leaked or whatnot.
Wait, are you talking about the new unit? The one that
correct.
hasn't been unlocked?
That's correct.
I've seen them fuck up stalwarts and shields.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to be OP, I'm pretty sure, guys.
They'll probably be
unit that we're all
for
complaining
Buster.
about.
Yep.
And for 265 leadership.
Yeah, that's basically a 3-star unit.
Yeah.
I think that they're going to up the leadership because, the only reason Madao got bumped to 5 stars, one, they were performing more than 4-star, and when they took out the muskets because they were not performing as intended, they're like, well, now we don't have a 5-star unit. We got to make our money, so they changed these guys to become 5-star unit. So I think that their leadership, once they go live, will have changed by then, but that's purely speculative. It's not fact.
They did mention that they want to test and use this unit as a test for lower leadership for golden infantry units.
Okay.
For example, the Silidars are 350. That's more than Hussars, right? I don't think anybody here would say that they're even T-War ready.
Mm-hmm.
So, hopefully the other golden infantry follows suit. But for 265, yeah, they'll probably end up increasing it at some point. If there was anything I was to point out was, and maybe it's a Wall of Blades unit trait there, whenever they receive a cav charge, the damage is negated into bleed damage. It's one of those, I can't remember which one it is. And essentially, yeah, there it is. So essentially what that means is they'll get a chance to kill the cav, and instead of just trading with the unit, you actually get a positive trade. And if they end up healing, like a longsword or really anything, you're able to kill any cav that might sneak away. That is like low-key one of the most important stats I've seen put on a unit that is versed cavalry. There hasn't really been a stat that's in the game before that says, damage taken will be transferred into a different type of damage. So that's really interesting. I imagine that this will be something that your cav players who are always running cav and sieges and territory wars are going to get really frustrated that there's this unit's going to be so prevalent. So we'll see where it lands. I'd hope they increase the leadership because I'm pretty sure it's going to be OP.
Yeah. At 265, why wouldn't you use them?
Yeah.
There's purple units that are going to be using that much.
Stalwarts, I think, are 265, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
Star Wars at 265.
That's crazy.
Yeah. 265. Paladins, I think, are 255, so yeah, they'll get used. So the last thing to talk about is pike, as far as that I had on the docket. So I'm sure everybody knows the pike. Your first ability, your second, your third, and then what goes into what. I actually like the first ultimate for breaking up entire units, but everybody tells me I think I'm the only one that likes the. I've never met anybody else that likes Cold Dragon over Green Dragon.
I also like Cold Dragon over Green Dragon. Green Dragon feels I want to only kill heroes, where Cold Dragon feels like I want to just be more useful.
One is going to be used for bunker busting. The other is going to be used for killing heroes. Pike is most likely going to be a unit kill, or not a unit, a hero killer though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel bunker busting is more useful in GWs.
I feel like Cold Dragon is really meant for archers, where Green Dragon It'll break a shield wall too. It'll go right through a shield wall, and it's definitely a hero killer.
Well,
Sorry, I was muted. You can also survive a 40 stack with Green Dragon as well. You can full charge a 40 stack and then get out.
yeah, same with Cold Dragon. That's why I like it, is because I can go in against and knock down all the good stuff. I've been using almost exclusively Green Dragon just because I don't know if just my play style worked really well, and I was doing well with Cold Dragon from the get-go. So I'm trying to see why the vast majority of people say Green Dragon. I mean, definitely for hero killing, there's no argument there, and that could just be the reason. One thing
you can knock down an entire unit. Like you got like a formation of gray hair garrisons, you can just go off to the side of them and knock them all down and get your unit charged in. So you can use it like a short sword charge to disrupt and knock down a whole bunch of shields or whatever you need.
Yeah, I do the same thing with. You can do the same thing with Cold Dragon, but you can do it from the front and then turn. You can do it from behind inside everything else, but go ahead.
When I've seen people use Green Dragon and honestly, the whole weapon's super impressive, but I feel Green Dragon is more used. So the fact is, if you do the combo right, you get 2 dashes. You can literally dash in, interrupt, knock down, turn around, dash out, interrupt, and knock down. And I feel that's why more people go with Green Dragon. Just 2 interrupts and then a knockdown.
Yeah, it could be. I will say that if you have to worry about enemy heroes and you really need to get it done, Green Dragon's going to be better than Cold, because Cold can be interrupted easier. So I see that. If I time it right and I know what I'm doing, I can always get Cold Dragon to do what Green Dragon can, but I can change direction and make it hit different things that I need it to hit. That's just me. So if anybody wants to add more about that, specifically the ultimates, that's fine now, or we can do that, or we can move on. So somebody told me there's like 140 combinations as far as when to hit your 3 and then or your first 3 abilities and then ultimate and then the other. But really, this is how I use it and I like it. I use these 3 abilities based on where I want to be. So obviously, if I want to go back, that's when you hit the Wandering Dragon or the Q. If I want to go forward, Water Dragon, and if I like relatively where I'm at, I'll stick with Sky Dragon. And then, based on what I do here, is on the after the ultimate is what I want to do. Obviously, there's the hard CC, there's the area clear, which is good for busting up stuff, and then there's the basically double dash or whatever you want to call it. There's definitely good combos to use. I'm interested if there's people that really like Pike. If there's combos that they really enjoy using, they can go ahead and let us know.
I usually do, I forget what they're called, but the 2 that back you up, and then you use your E, which knocks them to the ground. You use your ult.
So you're saying your double jump back, right?
Yeah, double jump back. I forget their names. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
You do the double jump back, then you do the one. Then it's E where it knocks them to the ground, and then you do your ult, which knocks them to the ground again. And if you use R, it stuns them again, and by that time, you take half their health, and your unit takes the other half.
Yep, basically a stun chain.
Pretty much. Kind of like poleaxe in a sense.
Yep.
Who wants to know how to beat the Pike?
What's that?
I said, who wants to know how to beat the Pike? Man?
Sure.
You gotta roll. You gotta do a lot of rolling. Side to side rolling.
So what you're saying is Glaive is fucked.
Glaive is fucked. Yeah.
Plays Glaive to begin with. What?
So,
ouch.
So I got asked what builds work well. I'm testing out right now a full strength build, and that's just because the ultimates both do slashing for some reason. I know it looks like a big pierce, but that's slashing damage.
Rip Cats uses full strength on his Pike.
Okay. I so far I like it. It's pretty high damage. For those who don't know, my play style have always been more tanky build, and I just use my mobility of this class as my tank. So I did try it initially with my tank build, which is usually about, give or take, 50% armor, 50% toughness. And I didn't notice a whole lot more tankability from it. So I don't think that might end up being the right answer, especially for territory war, being able to survive longer after you go through and do your bunker busting and whatnot. So maybe that's a good thing. I haven't tried it yet. I'm still enjoying, quite frankly, the strength build. It's fun. So obviously you can go with piercing damage with agility. You'll use a little bit different abilities, and there's nothing wrong with that. One thing that a lot of people don't know is the two types of auto attacks from the... so I can find somebody to do or whatever. Anyway, there's the left click normal auto attack, and then there's the block and then attack, which does a little slap to the face. That's actually blunt damage. And it has a high chance to stagger. So there's a lot of times when that I'll use where I'm behind behind our friendly lines while we're doing a push, and then I'll just put my pike out front and just slap people upside the head with the block attack. Just because it dazes a little bit, it helps the units out and does a little bit of damage. And as a strength build, I do more damage that way than I do with the piercing attack. So those are the tips I got. I like it. I think it's viable for territory war. And that's anybody got any questions over Pike, or contradictions to what I said, or things they want to add?
Yeah, I actually have a question. What do you think the best matchup against Pike is? If I'm using like a poleaxe or something.
Poleaxe.
Poleaxe, that's what I thought.
I think short sword.
Short sword and poleaxe. I main both those.
So
nice.
I don't have problems with short swords, just because they're slow and speed up doesn't last long enough, and I can rotate around. Now, this is open field, if I've got plenty of room to run. The hardest part is when you're in closed space, because you got to bounce around like a twidget when you're
gotcha.
In heavy combat without unit support. I struggle with some range that are keeping their distance because I have to use all my bouncies to close the distance, which means I'm no longer bouncy. And once I get in there, I got to lock them down. And all it takes is, as somebody mentioned, if they dodge my knockdown, well, then I don't have my bouncies to get away, and I can't knock you down. So I have to sit there and say, take it. So range is the only thing I really struggle with. Everything else I can pretty much get away with, even poleaxes. Granted, a poleaxe that sticks you and rolls out and then does his back to Corbin is going to be a mean punch. But if they can't get you and you have your ultimate up, because it's a recovery out of their other knockdowns, you can't do anything about rough justice. But you can get out, and then
gotcha.
Because of our the speed of our ultimate reuse, I think gives us a chance against poleaxes. If they don't shoot you down all the way dead. So you need decent armor. Any other questions or anything about Pike? Cool. That was about 50 minutes. So has anybody got any questions not related to the topics at hand? Territory war or otherwise, preferably about the game. All right. Any other requests or anything for the next training?
I got some.
Okay.
Have you covered